to hear a familiar, distorted voice speaking softly into the room. It was Dickens, but it was also 7 a.m.
There is a man out there who has been deemed a danger to society. I need you to end his life.
Give me 2 more hours of sleep.
No name.
I'm listening.
His name is Jackal Hinders. He's a child sex offender. Do I have your attention now?
I quickly sat up in bed, scowling at the thought these pigs still existed.
I see I do.
I knew the man had eyes everywhere, but how could he see me even in here? There had to have been cameras set up someplace.
Jackal was brought to my attention by someone who he raped as a young teenager and is now an adult. She paid me, and now I'm ordering you to do the deed.
I quickly came to understand that he really did own a whole company dedicated to murder, and I was the one doing all the dirty work. I toyed in my mind the possibility that Dickens used to be like me, but then got old. Too old to carry anything out on his own. Who really knows, though? God knows I'm not allowed to ask any questions. He's been a sick bastard for years then. I said this more to myself than to Dickens, though Dickens confirmed that it was true. He then told me where to find the man. He was currently sitting on a bench slightly away from the playground. He held a pair of binoculars, not to see the birds, but to watch the children play, thinking only of wicked things. There were many monsters at play here, and I was about to be the scariest of them all. I would pose as someone willing to sell him some children. Disgusting, but that's what Dickens told me to do. It would get me to the rapist, so I would play along. I got ready, stopping in my tracks. The calendar let me know that Thanksgiving Day was today. I frown and head to the door. It's just another date on the calendar. People like me don't have the privilege of watching parades and stuffing themselves with food and playing games together. Instead, people like me live each day as if it were nothing special. The man was easy to catch. He was precisely where Dickens said he would be, watching children through binoculars at the park like a wormy predator. I threw away all intentions of trying to pretend I had a child for sale. I was not going to stoop down to his level. Instead, I dosed the man with whatever it was I was supposed to give him once I got him in the car. Yes, I did this in broad daylight. People even saw me, but they did absolutely nothing. I wondered if these people had computers for brains because they lacked all traces of humanity. Getting to the spot I needed to be at to torment him before his inevitable death was difficult. I had developed a headache getting his heavy body into my vehicle, but this was not an obstacle I couldn't overcome. At last we'd arrived at our destination, an abandoned shack set up by Dickens just for the kill. I had all the supplies I needed. Before setting everything up, I whispered into the sleepy man's ear, "If I could guess, I'm sure God regrets the day he created you. I know that may sound a bit harsh, but that's just how I do business. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up." I slapped and I kicked at the man until his ugly eyes darted open. Something was different about him, though. He was now covered in blood, holding his own genitals in his hands. It was the proudest moment I had as an artful killer. I turned the camera on and it immediately began streaming to a website I'd never heard of before. The link was all a bunch of jumbled up numbers, but the page was titled The Annihilation Chamber. Welcome to the show. I began. Take a look at what we have here. This guy sexually assaults children. And now I'm here to end his life. At once, a small number of dark web users piled into the live stream and started donating Bitcoin, asking me to taunt them. I smiled and I complied, speaking next to the pedophile directly. Don't act like you haven't seen this before. You're just on the opposite end of it. Look, I pulled out a slideshow projector before directing my gaze at the devastated, shaking man holding his own lower extremities. Not very fun to squeeze them now, is it? I said to him. The users threw money into the chat just because they thought I deserved it. They had no idea I wouldn't see a dime of it. Here's one of a child in this very same chair you're in now, bound, gagged. You did this to a scared child. Let's look at more, shall we? I found these in a stack of your belongings. The man violently shook his head. Too bad. What happened to you? Why? Do you find these children attractive? Did someone touch you as a kid? The man squirmed violently as the pictures he himself had taken become more and more provocative and disturbing. Most people become teachers or start charities or anything to be a light to a child who may be suffering because they know what it means to be abused. But you chose to be the monster. What is wrong with you? You like the chubby boys, don't you? Don't you? Sick son of a bitch. Oh, here's one with you and your family out at a picnic. How refreshing. This is so outstanding. Your family, what a great member of the community. But you never would touch your own children, would you? But you did. Oh my God, you. How could you? I'm glad I was assigned to kill you. I don't even know what to say right now. I took another look at the chat room, and the size of the audience had grown, and there were now over 100 people begging me to end his life. I turned back to the man, twisted my lips into a sinister grin. These children on here, they didn't have a chance. Look at this one. Look! How are you not ashamed, Most adults don't even agree to take pictures like this. Gagging them with their own garments. You were drooling over them, weren't you? This is beyond immoral. You made them wear clothes you sewn for them. Clothes a prostitute would wear. Do you see these young children as... I can't even finish that sentence. How sick can you be to make me disgusted by the thought of you existing? Do you think about how many tears will be shed over the holidays? You being dead is the only thing these victims' parents will be thankful for. Pictures at parks, pictures at beaches, pictures of kids sitting in your lap as you're dressed like Santa at the mall. Really? My boss might be onto something here. The world could use a lot less of your kind, but you're all like roaches, aren't you? Sick bastards like you keep coming and coming. They couldn't even defend themselves. That's why I'm here. I threw the projector full force at his face, causing him to mess up his nose a little. Movie's over. Let the torture begin. Floods of text appeared in the chats deeming me their new hero. I did everything they asked for and more. I took rusty knives and carved them into his legs. I removed the gag from his mouth and replaced it with the body parts I had chopped off of him earlier. And I laughed wildly at the irony. Oh, if only your survivors could see you now. I know I told you that if you did what I said, I wouldn't kill you. But I lied. I do that sometimes. I took the sword that I'd used on my first kill, and I started shoving the blade into his eye sockets. I carved his eyeballs out of his face, and the things went rolling. It was hilarious. Why you want to roll your eyes at me? I ended the torture not because I wanted to, but because I'd done so much to him that he couldn't help but succumb to his injuries. I tipped my hat to the camera, carving the number 2 into his skin, and I ended the live stream. Moments later, my phone rang only once before it forced me to pick up the call.
Good. Very good. I have people on their way right now coming to collect the body and clean your mess. I earned a lot off of you. You should be proud. Oh, but you didn't do everything I said. I said act like you were just like him, and you did not. No name. Don't do it again.
The headache I was experiencing only worsened at Dickens' loud voice of dissatisfaction. I voiced my need to go home and rest, promising I would obey him from then on out.
You'd better go home. Your head will be fine.
After making a quick getaway back to the house, I opened my bedroom door to see a tray of food sitting on the bed. Upon further examination, I realized it was filled with turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, cranberry sauce, fruits, and things of that nature. It was my Thanksgiving Day meal. And just like every other year since I was a child, I would be spending it alone. How could I complain, though? I had nothing to lose. I was a homeless wreck killing violent drug addicts before this. Now me being nobody was turning me into somebody. They liked me on there, on the dark web. I dare say they loved me. If I even know how to properly use that term. I had a roof over my head and access to materials I couldn't dream of affording on my own. There was also a bottle of wine that sat next to the tray. I lifted it in the air, giving my Thanksgiving Day toast to Mr. Dickens.
He couldn't give up the idea that his torment ended. He couldn't stop pretending.
He swore the world was going to end.
Turns out he would have been raped, and he wanted to be the one to end it. But the hero we commemorate tonight
Stopped all that.
Thanksgiving Day came and went, and Christmas decorations soon flooded the streets. Of course, I wasn't allowed any decorations. I was to be dedicated to my mission and nothing else. Kill the people I'm told to kill, and when I'm told to do it, and how I'm told to do it. I endured an entire week of silence from Dickens after my last kill, and it wasn't until this day that Dickens contacted me with my next assignment.
No name. Did you enjoy your fall break?
Is that what that was? I thought you forgot about me.
Never. You just need time to remember who you belong to. Without me, there is nothing. You are nothing. Do not forget this. I can make you homeless and weak and pathetic again, just like that.
Yes, of course. I won't forget it. You have someone for me to kill then, I assume.
Of course. Why else would I be calling you? You're not interesting enough for me to speak to just for idle chatter.
All of his words cut deeper than I expected. Dickens was mean by every definition of the word, and yet there remained part of me that longed for his approval. I try not to think too deep into it. It's just not how I do business.
Tonight, you are going to kill a man who wastes his life on gambling. He has put his family thousands and thousands of dollars into debt, and now it is time for him to pay his ultimate dues. Kill him in whatever fashion you must. I just need him dead and documented. Do this correctly. Do it today.
I nodded, knowing that he could probably see me anyway, with whatever cameras he had hidden around the room. Dickens then gave me the details, the when, where, the who. I would just slip in the casino and snatch him up. People again would see me and they wouldn't care. Their eyes would be too focused on the potential millions they could make playing a silly game. An honest question had slipped its way into my thoughts. So without thinking, I asked, Mr. Dickens, you told me that my work would be done on the dark web and not in public. Yet everyone I have captured thus far has been out in the open.
I also told you questions are not allowed. Have you killed anyone in public? No. Do not question me. I can only have so much patience with you before you end up exactly like your victims.
It won't happen again.
It better not.
I began to get ready while Dickens stayed on the phone with me. My facial expression and demeanor changed as I realized exactly where I was going. A casino. Those buildings hold a lot of people. I didn't want to do this.
No, ma'am. What is it? What is troubling you? You look much less confident this is going to be your easiest kill to date. Oh. You do not like big crowds, do you?
No, it isn't that at all.
Do
It's
not
just
lie to me. You are afraid of crowds. I know more than you seem to realize. Guess what? I do not care. Go do your job. This is a very important kill. Do not forget that.
I sighed and grabbed all of my gear, slipping out of the room and began making my way to the local casino. I blasted a radio production of The Night Space. It was an old radio show where strange things often happen to ordinary people. It's all I ever really cared to listen to. I never watched TV. I had to convince myself I was ready for this kill. Dickens was right. I don't like large groups of people. A place like a casino could be a real problem. But how did he know all of this? Did he have eyes in my brain as well? No, I won't question it. I have to keep my focus on the art of the kill. Clarksville, Tennessee used to be a small town, but it's always growing. What I wouldn't give to be living in 1950 when everybody had plenty of space. I think on this all the time because one of my favorite pictures is of the Roxy Theater. It was taken in 1950. And guess what I don't see in the picture? Mass amounts of human bodies all jammed in together trying to make their way through the streets. The good old days. Traffic. I squirmed in my seat and looked at the clock. It was only 3. Why were there so many people on this road? I'll admit I was nervous. Rolling down the windows didn't help because my biggest problem was all around me. Instead, I turned up the radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next story took place right in our city. I can honestly tell you that none of these 6 people knew what they had in store when they received this letter in their mailboxes. The Night Space episode of
I honestly zoned out the rest of the program until I found a parking spot. I mumbled several curse words before entering the casino that for some ungodly reason had opened last year. No respectable person in Clarksville had wanted this, but yet here it was. Keeping my gaze straight ahead, I began to take a few shaking steps forward. I tensed up as sweat began to dampen my skin. I instantly felt as though all of these people were piling their bodies on top of mine. I struggled to move. My chest felt tight and I couldn't breathe. I hoped that some minion of Dickens wasn't recording my mental breakdown. No, I wasn't breaking down. Stay calm, stay calm. The first tear was shed. I could feel my heart knocking loudly against my skin. Where was this man? There. I scowled. The man was playing some game show slot where he was losing all of his money he had just won. I dosed this person just like I did the other one. I pretended he was drunk and that I was his friend swooping in to save the day and drag him from the public. But no one even asked what was wrong with him or what I was doing. People really don't have any trace of humanity left, do they? Another monster, all mine to do with whatever I pleased. Once I propped him in the back seat, I sighed and smiled brightly. All my adoring fans were waiting for me on the dark web.